How important is fun when it comes to infection control?
I think fun is important in anything that you want to actually incorporate. Even celebrating a fail, a waterline test fail. Celebrating a waterline test fail, it means you're testing. That is your first step to safe waterlines. And if you fail, you know where you stand, and let's go.
Amanda Hill has over 25 years of clinical hygiene experience. She's an incredibly sought-after speaker, an award-winning author, and a leader in infection control education. Amanda is a committee member for the Association for Dental Safety, a key contributor for their editorial review board, and a recipient of the Emerging Infection Control Leader Award. Affectionately known as the Waterline Warrior, her work in educating dentistry on infection control best practices is unparalleled. Her enthusiasm, passion, and industry insights has helped thousands of dental professionals across the country elevate their safety practices. Please welcome Amanda Hill to the Safe Together podcast. Amanda, most teams, it feels like, struggles with communication. Tell me a little bit about where you've seen that break down for teams and how they can overcome those challenges.
You know, Andrew, I think in dentistry, so many of us come in as a type A perfectionist, right? Like we come in and we want to be right, right?
Yeah.
And I think we sit a little bit too much in the knower space. Meaning we come into our office and we know, right? We know our stuff. Like we know how to take care of patients or we know how to do this. Instead of coming in the learner space. And the learner space, coming in as a learner, is far more vulnerable, which is vulnerability is a little scary, right?
Yeah, totally.
You know, being a knower means like, I know and you listen and this is what we do, right? As opposed to coming in and being a learner. And that is true for so many things. I remember kind of early on in my hygiene days and I didn't want to go into an office, like maybe I changed offices or maybe we got a new product. And I thought I would look stupid if I asked like, how does this product work?
Yeah.
Like that means I don't know what I'm doing. As opposed to, no, every product is different.
Yeah.
Instructions for use vary. We should be curious. We should be learners. We should be like, I need to understand more about this. But I feel like we so often, because we sit in that sort of knower space, that perfectionist space, that by saying like, oh, I don't know that I don't know that I know that, I don't know that I understand that, makes us feel weak.
Yeah.
But really, in actuality, it actually makes you like stronger. It makes you better. It makes for a better team. And so if we don't sit in that space with our teams and we come in with that space of like, okay, like I want to understand that more, I think that we would have better communication as opposed to wanting to be right, our goal is to get it right.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's
right?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we, practically, how do I make that shift? Because I feel like it is vulnerable.
Oh,
Sometimes it's a pride thing.
It's totally a pride thing. It's totally an ego thing. It's totally you want to come in and you want to feel worthy. You want to feel confident. You are a provider. Yeah. And as a provider, I want to give this air of confidence. And so by saying, I don't know, does that mean you're not a good provider? No, it actually means like, you know what, I'm going to investigate that and I'm going to learn more.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to continually be the best provider because I'm always learning. But if you sit in that space and you're like, I know what I know, you're already not up to date.
Yeah. That's so good. Going back to a little bit about you.
Yeah.
How did you get into dentistry?
So when I was 15 years old, I was working at a shoe store.
No way.
Yeah, I was shelving shoes, putting them in order, all that good stuff. And I got kind of bored with that job. And I thought, a job answering phones would be really fun. Because that's back in the day when we actually used like answer phones.
Yeah.
They were still hooked to the wall.
Yeah. They had a cord still
with cords,
on them.
Totally with cords. Yeah. And so I thought, a job answering phones would be fun. So I called my local pediatric dentist who he had done my braces. So, I felt like Dr. Kramer and I had gone. Yeah. So I called him and I was like, hey, are you guys hiring? And they're like, yes, we are. And I was like, oh my goodness. Way. So I went in and I had an interview with Dr. Kramer and Dr. Kramer hired me. So I show up for my first day of work after school. So I'm in my school clothes, like jeans and a t-shirt, whatever. Show up after school and he hands me an apron and I'm a dental assistant.
Whoa. Just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah, you're like, all right.
Just like that.
Here we go.
And so that's how I got into dentistry. And actually, I really liked it. And it was really fun. And I saw what the dental hygienists did in the practice. And they both worked part-time and they both had families and they had just a really good, I felt like, balance. And so I thought, you know what? I want to be a hygienist. And so I headed off to hygiene school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about needing to be a learner.
I know, right?
They threw you into it.
They did. And I learned. Yeah.
That is awesome.
And I'm still learning.
Yeah, you're still learning.
Yes.
Aren't we all? Yeah. Speaking of learning, you have a knack with infection control.
Yeah.
So as you're going through this process of learning, being a dental assistant, then becoming a hygienist, you're also like, wait, there's this area of dentistry that you felt really attracted to with infection control. How did that happen? You know,
much like all of this seems to happen on accident, right? Things just happen, right? The world just, I don't know, So we had been, my husband's in the Navy, or he's retired Navy now, but so he's in the Navy, and we had been living in Europe. And so we had just moved back to the States. And by then I had been practicing hygiene for, well over 20 years. Okay. But pretty much just doing hygiene. And I think I was, at that point I could have told you, yeah, I'm doing infection control, right? And whatever. I just didn't give it much thought. I did what I knew.
Yeah.
And so I happened to take like my annual infection control update, like you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And the speaker mentioned dental unit water lines. And I was like, wait, what? And I heard about these kids that had gotten sick, and I was like,
yeah.
Whoa. So I went back to my office the next day, and I was like, hey, are we doing this, guys? And they're like, doing what? And so I was like, can I I'm going to learn a little bit more. I'm going to take like another class, and then can I like order the stuff and do it? And my dentist was like, yeah. And so I took another course, I took another webinar, and then I ordered the stuff and went in on a Friday and, shocked my lines and tested our lines. We felt bad. We felt so bad. But they had never done it. This practice had been there for, 30 years. Nobody had ever done it. So anyway, through that, but kind of so through that process of testing and shocking and it was this fun sort of thing to figure out. And I would go back to like my dental hygiene component, my meetings, and I was like, hey guys, are any of you guys doing this? And they're like, no, we're not doing this. And I'm like, oh guys, this is so fun. And I think I know it's like fun. It's fun because like you get to pass the test. Like you get to figure it out. You get this real time, like this way to show like, okay, all right, I'm making progress. Okay. Yes, I did it. Like, oh man, all my efforts were totally worth it. So truthfully, this is going to feel so staged since, we're in like the ProEdge Dental Water Labs. But my passion for infection control started with water.
Crazy.
That was like the first thing I got super like excited and passionate about. And it was something that nobody knew about. Like no one in my community knew about. And so it was a fun thing to kind of try to help people. And, I'm one of those people that loves to I just love to help others. And I have this cool knowledge. So let me like share it with you. And then let's be better. Let's be safer together. And so that's kind of how it started. So then from there, that's how then all the other infection control stuff just kind of fell in line, but it all started with water.
That's why. And here's what's so cool with you specifically is you really do make it fun. When people think about infection control, right, there's doom and gloom all over it. But you totally changed that. I love one of the things that you do with testing airports. And airlines. That's become like people will tune in to figure out what the results were from your stuff.
In fact, we have Southwest Ice is and the flow station right now. So
it's so cool.
Yeah.
Now you've done a ton of speaking on infection control now that you're in this world, and you get to see a lot of different where people are at educationally. And from your perspective, I'm really curious. Where do you feel like people need to learn more about a specific area of infection control? Because you're on the road communicating so many different things, and I'm sure you're finding that there's a gap in where people are at. What is that gap when it comes to infection control?
Wow. I mean, selfishly, I think I want to say water.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's my bias, though, just because, water is my super jam.
Yeah.
But I do think there's still so much, like, I'm often amazed. Andrew, sometimes I'm like, haven't I talked to every single person in dentistry across the country? And yet then, let's say, for instance, we were at Hinman a couple months ago, and people are coming up to me, and they're like, is this waterline thing new? I've never heard of this. What is this? And so it's definitely still has a long way to go. And it's understanding the why. It's getting out of this mindset that says, well, I've been doing this for 48 years and I've never hurt anybody, so why is this important? It's letting that go and understanding, now I understand that this is a concern. What am I going to do about it? I have to think, like, when I entered dentistry, I came in just after gloves got introduced, right?
Yeah.
But I came in, we didn't wear a mask.
Yep.
We wiped things down with an alcohol 2x2.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because that was going to kill stuff. But I remember I was temping for a dentist in like 2001. We had just moved to Rhode Island. We were only living there for 6 months. And so I was just temped. And I walked into his practice and I was like, where are your gloves? And he's like, oh, I don't really wear gloves. Yeah. And I was like, well, I do. Yeah. And he's like, well, if you wear gloves, my patients are going to think that you think that they have AIDS. And I was like, that's not how gloves work. Right. And so it took a minute. Yeah. Gloves didn't become mandatory until 1991. Yep.
Right.
And so it took a minute for people to be like, okay, gloves, right? But now no one would question gloves.
Yeah, right.
No one would question gloves. And so I think the same is true for things like, water. Like, okay, now. And so we're seeing more and more and more and more cases. I think we're getting way better at contact tracing them. I don't think there's more and more cases. I just think we now know what's causing this mysterious infection. Totally. And so I think I want to say water. I could probably say a million other things too, truthfully. I think there's still, when it comes to infection control, it's often that task is handed to it's a not it job, like not it, and then, that's good. Yeah. Does that person even have training, or is it just like, oh, new girl, like here, you're in charge with, no understanding and that's where the Association for Dental Safety, I think, becomes so important. They have great trainings. I've gotten my CDIPC certified in infection prevention and control, where, taking those extra classes to really understand infection control. Offices really need to invest in training that infection control coordinator. So if there's that person that's in charge, they need to understand all the best practices, because otherwise, how can they be in charge if they don't understand what they're in charge of or the why, or, because otherwise you get those legacy errors. This is how we've always done it. We don't even understand what this means. Like, oh, I don't know. I mean, before that, the other girl said this, and so this is what we do.
Yeah, right.
And so much of that is wrong. And so really, gosh, we got to stay a learner in that infection control space. But you have to give people the opportunity to learn.
Yes.
You can't just expect them just to know. And you cannot rely on your sales rep. And sales reps are great, and I love you, sales reps. No shade. But, I mean, they can't be the person that you expect to know all the things, because you know what? In the end, when it comes down to if something were to happen, your sales rep's not the one that's going to get in trouble. It's that licensed professional. It's that dentist. It's the licensed dental assistant. It's the licensed dental hygienist. It's that office, and that's who's going to harm someone. Yeah. And so it's really important that no matter what, be it water or be it, operatory disinfection or sterilization of instruments or one-time use only. Please, one-time use only. Yeah. Any of those things, it's understanding that, but that only comes through actually proper education. So look at that. Look at the CDIPC certification through Association for Dental Safety and DUWL, or even the CDC has a great foundations for dental health module things, totally free. But do some things to set your team up for success so that your practice is then set up for success.
Yeah. How important is fun when it comes to infection control?
I think fun is important in anything that you want to actually incorporate, right? If it feels like a burden, if it feels like a have to, if you don't understand the why behind it, you're just not gonna do it. And so figuring out how to do it, how to have fun doing it, how to understand the why of doing it is the thing that will actually help you follow through with it all. And so infection control is not hard to make fun.
Yeah.
You can, you could like have these little games with like your surface disinfectants, and you could figure out like how long does it actually take, like when I for that surface to dry. And am I doing it like in the amount of time for my kill time? And I would turn them into like baby science experiments, because that's what all this is, right? It's all like baby science experiments. And so figuring out like, okay, if we did this and this and this, and then, when you get your flow on and you really understand like this is how we do it, this is how we can make it work, this is how we can incorporate it, then it just becomes part of your everyday. It's just part of what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you embody that so fully. To the fact, you literally have a cape.
I do. I
it's
have
offset,
a cape.
but you have a cape.
Yeah.
Waterline Warrior. Yeah, you do. You make everything so fun. I'm curious how you got that name, Waterline Warrior. And then, I want to keep pressing into, it's like when you're working with an office that is starting with infection control practices, or at least trying to elevate them.
Right.
It's so clear when you come in. It's like, it's not just about this. It's like, I'm going to make this thing enjoyable.
Right.
And that seems to have such an improved success rate when people are like, wait, this is actually like, I can actually enjoy doing this.
Right? Like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, I can actually, like, pass this test. Like, look at me. And aren't we, like, we're all achievers.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
We all want to be like, oh, I did that. And so with a waterline test, like, you get to be like, yeah, I did that. Like, I went from that to that.
Celebrate.
It's the same thing in hygiene. You have a patient who comes in with, like, like, totally bleeding gums and periodontal, and you go through that process with them. And then at the end, you're like, look at what we did together.
Yes.
Like, look at that. And so this is the same, but you just it's not a human. It's this waterline test. And so I think that fun component is just, it's key. Because otherwise, again, it just feels like a to-do. It feels like busy work.
Yeah.
It just feels like something.
Yeah. Easy to get lost, I think, when it's not
super easy,
enjoyable or fun. And I think in a similar vein, and you do this so well too, you love to celebrate.
Well, come on, when you achieve something, you should. I'm all about like a nice quick dance party.
Totally.
Or a jump up and down. So so the Waterline Warrior name came from, actually, I think it was Emily Bogey. I think Emily Bogey.
Shout out to Emily Bogey.
Yeah, Emily Bogey. And she's the one that made me the cape.
No way.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, her mother,
awesome.
her mother sewed the cape, and Emily got the letters and put them on the back of my cape. So that all came from Emily Bogey.
Great. Yeah.
My Waterline Warrior cape.
Yeah. I think fun and celebrating are so important,
right?
Because in infection control, it's usually doom and gloom. And then inside infection control, it never feels like you've reached the end. Like, it always feels like there's something else to do, or you dropped the ball somewhere.
Yes.
Or when people notice it, they notice it because of something wrong. Not because you're doing something right. And so it's like, oh my goodness, when you can celebrate the little wins or even the big wins, that's so important.
Yeah. I think, Andrew, I got this from you, even celebrating a fail, a waterline test fail.
Yeah.
Because celebrating a waterline test fail means you're testing.
Yeah.
So that is your first step to safe waterlines, is that test. And if you fail, you know where you stand, and let's go.
Yeah.
Like, here we go. Let's figure it out. So, and we can do that with so many things. You can do that with sport testing. You can do that with, there's just so many things that you can celebrate.
I love that.
Every day. And that goes for patient care. That goes for, patients you bring into the practice, conversations you have, case acceptance, all those things. It's a lot about celebrating those. I really believe in celebrating those small successes. I think too often in dentistry, we like I mentioned, we sit in that perfection state, right? And so I worked for a dentist who I adore, right? And if I fell down today and broke a front tooth, I'm hopping on a plane and I'm going back to him, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful dentistry. One of the hardest people to work for in the universe, because everything that he measures success to perfection.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're not always going to be perfect. I know that's so hard for us. But instead, if we can measure to successes, to this, like, oh, look at how much better we're doing. Look at this incremental success. It's sort of like a baby, right? So you have this baby, right? And the baby's learning how to walk.
Yeah.
And so the baby takes like 2 steps. you know, and you're like, yay, baby,
Yeah.
yay. Like you're cheering on the baby, right? You
Yeah.
would never be like, baby, no.
Yeah.
Like you gotta walk
Yeah, why
across
aren't
the
you-
whole room.
Yeah,
Like
why aren't you
2
running?
steps, 2
Yeah.
steps. Cha. And so I think we need to celebrate that much more. There's this great book. I don't know if you ever read it called The Gap and the Gain by Benjamin Hardy.
No. Okay.
One of my favorites.
Cool.
But it talks about exactly this philosophy is
Yeah.
how you measure success. So are you sitting and living in the gap where you're like, oh, well, you know, that was great. You had a really good appointment with that patient and, you know, they accepted these 5 parts of the treatment plan, but they didn't accept that one. Or, oh my gosh, like you cleaned up that patient's mouth, but oh, you left one little spick of stain. You're a failure. No, as opposed to, oh my gosh, look at the progress we've made with this patient.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at the successes we've had and look at what else we can do. And because when you're always celebrating when you're always measuring success to that perfection, you know, and you're living in that gap, you always feel like a failure. It feels like we're never going to get this infection control done. There's too much.
Yes.
There's too much. Like you look at that checklist and you're like, holy, how are we going to do that?
Yeah.
As opposed to, okay, let's start with the big stuff and let's get success there. And then once you feel like you're like, oh yeah, I'm passing my waterline test. Ooh, I'm passing my spore test.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now what's next? Like, what's the next thing I'm going to do? What's the next thing I'm going to incorporate and be really good at? I think that's how you really get that buy-in. That's how you get that consistency. That's how you get longevity in these systems that you need to incorporate.
I love that. And I think there's a piece as you're explaining it to me, I'm hearing like there's also like this idea of hope. When you hope in perfection, it becomes so disheartening so quick. But if you hope in like the progress that you're having, it's like, wait, I can actually do this.
Right.
Yeah. It's so powerful.
Yeah. And it's so fun because now that we have this word gap and gain and
this is good.
And so it's really good because my dentist, who's never going to change, he's not. Okay, we've tried. Anyway, now when he comes at us and he says things that are like, like we're like, oh my gosh, I had the best appointment with this patient and we talked about this and we talked about this. And he goes, well, but what about this? We can be like, you go live in the gap. I'm going to live in the gain. And when you have nomenclature for things like this, because before that used to be crushing to me. I'd be like, I stink at this. Like, I hate my life. Right? But now that I can be like, dude, you go live in the gap.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm going to, and not to say that we all don't go into the gap. All of us do. I mean, but the point is when you can recognize that, we can be like, oh man, that's gap thinking. I'm going to get myself into the gain. And so it's so much of this is how we think, what the thoughts the paths we allow our brain and our, to go down and the truths we believe is huge. And that really plays right into that first question you asked about communication.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you're saying, I love like creating team verbiage.
Yeah.
So you have like the learner and the knower, you have the gap and the gain.
Yeah.
And it centers teams around known vocabulary, which is so good. Tell me a little bit more. I love the gap of the gain.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And any team can walk away from this conversation and say, let's start bringing that into our fold.
Right, let's read that book. And
yes.
And it's it's such a great way to do it.
What are some other communication tools that you've seen be so helpful for super busy teams where it's hard to have unifying communication?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We there was a coach that came into a practice that I worked at, and she taught us about, it's called the awareness wheel.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Okay.
This is new to me, so I'm excited to learn.
So this is a system on how to have a hard conversation.
Ooh.
Because so often, I think in the world, but as certainly as a hygienist, like I am a pleaser to the core. Like I want you to like me. I want my patients to like me. Like I want to get along. And because I have all those tendencies, I tend to avoid hard conversations because I don't want to have, like, to the point where, there were points where I didn't want to tell patients about their disease because I didn't want them to not like me, right?
Yeah, sure.
And really needed to learn how to get over that hump and how to be able to have those hard conversations. So even conversations around central sterile or the thermostat or, those other conversations we're having in the office. And so it's called the awareness wheel. We start with facts. And then we go to what we imagine, then how it makes us feel, and then what we need to do, and an agreement.
Okay.
So here's an example.
Okay.
So this is our assistant, Stacy, has the best one.
Okay.
She says, okay, Andrew, I see your underwear on the bathroom floor.
Oh, snap. Okay.
I imagine you forgot them there. It makes me feel kind of embarrassed to see them.
Yeah.
I really need you to pick those up and put them into the hamper.
Okay.
So that's kind of the example, okay?
Yeah,
So that's kind of the funny example. Like, can we agree on that?
Yeah, right.
So we can do that with things like, let's say, central sterile is always a big one, right? Right. So, how do we move instruments along? And so we actually had to do this with we had a coworker who really we were just having issues. Like she just was not helping out in central sterile. And so she just wasn't, she just expected other people to do things. So we're gonna be like, okay, let's call her Karen.
Karen,
like, okay. Hey, Karen, instruments are really backing up in central sterile. In fact, I didn't have ones ready for my next patient. So that's facts.
Yeah.
I imagine that you are you're busy, like we all are, right? And it's hard to get to these things, right? But I feel like I'm the only one that is moving the instruments from one station to the other. I need you, when you walk through central sterile to drop off your instruments, I need you to move the instruments from one thing to another, whether you take them from the ultrasonic to rinsing to drying. I need your help in moving them one step so that we can all have the clean instruments that we need. And the reason I like having this like awareness wheel is like, it's like you have an SOP.
Yeah.
And so instead of getting like all emotional, like you suck and you hate me and you won't even help with the instruments and then it's so hard and it's me and you, right?
Yeah.
That changes the tone.
For sure.
And so we can really sit there in that kind of that fact and that, and the imagine and the feel. And so it really says I. And then this is what I need. And in agreements, it's not always going to work.
Yeah.
It's not always going to work.
Sure.
And maybe you step back and, maybe like if you don't even agree on the facts to begin with, you got to kind of agree.
Yeah,
like, okay, this is a problem, right? Do we both agree? But it's a really great way to have those conversations, but do it in a way that feels safe, feels like I'm not igniting that emotional reflex in my head, where because that's totally me. Like I'm totally going to get emotional about it. It's really, that has been a really great way
so cool.
to, and the entire team knows it. We know the system. And we also know, I think, to have empathy for one another when we're like, okay, all right. And coming to somebody with a hard conversation is a blessing. It means they care enough because they want to fix this, right? They want to make this work, as opposed to being like,
whatever.
I'm just gonna go to the front desk and I'm just gonna talk about her. Like she won't even help, right? She's not a helper. Oh my goodness, right?
Yeah.
And that's when you get that drama, gossip circle that we hear so much about in dentistry.
Yeah.
And so if we can stop that and be like, have you tried the awareness wheel?
Oh, that's so good.
And then you're like, oh. And so you can even kind of practice it yourself, by yourself and be like, okay, these are the things I'm gonna do. Okay.
Oh, this is so good.
Right?
Yes.
It's so good.
Yeah. Okay. There's so much to unpack here. So let's start with how to even implement something like this. How do you carve out time when you're so busy and everyone's doing 100 different things?
Right.
Sometimes to the point where it almost feels like you're siloed.
Oh,
you're in your own,
for sure.
You're in your own lane, showing up, knowing what. How do you pull that back to team and carve out space to have these intentional conversations?
I mean, without a doubt, you have to have team meetings. I know that like sometimes you're like, team meetings are such a waste of time. If you have an agenda for your team meeting, like you gotta have an agenda. We would always have like in our break room, we'd have like an empty agenda and people got to write things down on the agenda.
Cool.
Like every team member could add to the agenda. And we'd work really hard to, kind of honor everything that got there. If you came up with something else in the team meeting that we didn't have time for, it would get tabled to the next one,
Yeah.
to the next meeting, and it would go on that agenda sheet. And so that way we could really honor
That's great.
the conversations that people needed to have. And so I think that's really key. And then and learning and practicing it, but learning and practicing it kind of in a safe environment, where, you come up with like, hey guys, let's brainstorm. Like, what are sometimes some of the issues that we have? And you can even like brainstorm it out, like, not with the person that, you'd like to, you're going to like, okay, I'm going to practice with someone else first.
Session.
Like I'm going to practice this
Yeah.
and see kind of how we can deal with those things. And it just becomes kind of like, it's just sort of a safety net then for being like, okay, all right, I'm going to honor this. And I feel like as a listener, as somebody that's, you're gonna awareness wheel me, right? I can take down that defensiveness because I think we get defensive, right?
For sure.
It's just, we don't mean it. We just are.
Yeah.
And so you can be like, okay, I'm going to let go of this defensiveness and I'm going to sit and I'm going to listen. And I'm going to listen and I'm going to be a learner.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, okay, I'm not perfect. I know I'm not perfect. And I remember it's actually pretty funny because so I had this practice that I'm talking about. I had worked there and then we moved away and then we moved back. Okay.
Yeah.
So it had been years in between. And I had moved back and I was working at that point I was only working like 2 days a week.
Okay.
And so this actually happened to me sort of, they didn't have the awareness wheel at this point, but this was a situation where I wasn't bagging anything in Central Sterile that wasn't mine. So I was moving my stuff, but I wasn't touching their stuff.
Yeah.
And apparently they were getting really mad that I wasn't bagging their instruments. And the consultant, this one that taught us the awareness wheel, happened to be in. And so she actually sat down with me. She's like, Amanda, the whole team is really mad at you. I'm like,
wow, yeah.
What do you mean they're mad at me? And she's like, you're not bagging any of their instruments. And I was like, dude, I remember when I worked here before that like certain ones went in different bags and it was really annoying when you bagged them wrong. And because I was there full time before, like I understood how that worked. Now I don't understand how that works. And so I don't want to get it wrong. And truthfully, I haven't had time to like sit down and relearn how to bag their instruments. And so I've just been leaving them alone. But oh my goodness, now that I know this is a huge issue, okay, let's talk about that. Like, but boy, do I wish somebody from that team had come to me and be like, Amanda, hey, it's funny. We could really use your help bagging some instruments. And at that point, I could have said, hey, oh my gosh, I haven't been bagging them because I don't know how you want them bagged. Like, is there a specific system? I just don't want to do it wrong. And I think so often we don't want to do things wrong. And had we just had that conversation, it was really hard to hear that from the consultant to know that everyone was mad at me.
Yeah.
And so having those conversations, directly with person, because there's more to the story than you think, because we make up the story in our head, like, oh, Amanda doesn't want to help. She doesn't even want to help us. She's too good for us. Like, she's just, she thinks she's a hygienist diva and she doesn't have to do those instruments. That wasn't true. I wanted to. I just didn't know how to do those.
Yeah. Well, this is, when you're talking about that second step, the imagine step, I feel like that is crazy, crazy, crazy beneficial. Like that is such a critical step. Have you ever read Crucial Conversations?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the story we tell ourselves is everything.
It's everything. And I even do this with my husband. Like when I'm fresher with him, I'll be like, the story I'm telling myself. And it's such a non-confrontational way to let somebody know where you're coming from. Half the time the story you're telling yourself is so wrong. But we are so into ourselves.
Yes. And then that's our reality.
Right? That becomes reality. Like that's it. That's the truth. Like that's the truth. And it's not the truth. But when you can start it out, not but like, you don't even care about me, Andrew. You don't care about my instruments. No, like the story I'm telling myself is that you don't think that I'm worth, helping. And be like, dude, oh my gosh, that's not the story.
Yeah.
Wow. Now I see how you could think that, but this is where I was coming from, and let's fix this right away.
Yeah.
It's such a great way to, Brene Brown uses that all the time too. The story I'm telling myself.
Phenomenal resource.
So good.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, when you were getting into, and I loved how you approached Imagine, which was like, try to give the other person the benefit of the doubt. Right. Like in all the circumstances you provided, it was like, okay, I know what I'm feeling, but I'm going to try to put them in a situation where I think they're doing the best that they can. Yeah. And when you have that approach, it totally changes the whole conversation.
Absolutely. Because truthfully, all of us are really trying to do our best.
Yeah.
It just looks different. And there's different situations and there's so much more that we just don't understand. And so I think if we can offer more grace, if we can offer, and more conversation, as opposed to assuming. Those conversations, that communication within a team gets so much better. But you have to have the conversations. You have to communicate. You can't just make up the story in your head and decide you're right.
Yeah. You got to be a learner.
You got to be a learner.
This is
cannot
so
be a knower.
I like how it's all tying back in together.
It's all there.
Because I think you're right. Like when you don't engage in the conversation, like you said in your examples, like the natural proponent for us is to craft the narrative and then to tell somebody else what that is, rather than the person themselves. And then they find out, and it just ruins trust for the whole team.
It does, absolutely. Yeah. And the flip side to that, Andrew, is also it is our job as team members. It's our job to let people know what we need.
Yeah.
Too often, we just think that you should know. My dentist should know that I need new instruments. Yeah. And when I don't have new instruments and they're dull and they're breaking, and I can make up a story and be like, shh, they don't even think I'm worth new instruments. Have I even asked for new instruments? Have I expressed what I need?
Yeah.
Or am I expecting somebody just to know? I mean, this certainly happens in our marriages too, right? I mean, holy cow.
Sure.
Right? That we just assume that someone should know what we need. And so we have responsibility. We have so much responsibility in all of this, is having those hard conversations, but also then expressing our needs.
Yes. Yeah. Well, oh my goodness. And to the expressing needs, it's vulnerable because when you come to the agreement stage, you might not agree, and you'll have to work through that.
Right.
And so some of us, well, for sure, I'll look at myself and I'm like, I don't love to engage in those conversations because I just want to be right. And so I'll let my expectation, or I'll just let it linger,
right?
Because I don't want to be vulnerable in potentially being wrong or having to come to some kind of an agreement that's not benefiting me.
Right.
So it's super vulnerable.
It's so vulnerable.
Oh, it's so good.
But when you can do it, my gosh, it works out so much better.
Yeah.
It's just a bit. I like to tell this analogy, like I'm really good at killing plants.
Okay.
It's not my gift. Plants are not my gift, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I take care of a lot of things.
Not plants.
Right? But I have 2 plants in my office, Andrew, that are like doing so good. And the reason that I have these 2 plants are doing so good in my office is one of them is like one of those, I don't know, angel plants or whatever. And like when it needs water, it like just kind of goes flat. And I give it water and it pops back up. So basically, it tells me. It's like, I need some water. And I'm like, oh, sorry, buddy. And it pops up, right?
That's so
and
funny.
the other plant that I have in my office is an orchid. Right? I mean, orchids, basically, you get the orchid, it blooms once, and you throw it in the garbage. You're like, that was fun, right? But this orchid came with a little tag on it. And it said, give me 3 ice cubes once a week. It told me what it needed.
Yeah.
That orchid has bloomed 6 times.
Wow.
6 times.
Wow.
The orchid told me what it needed.
Yeah.
And the orchid is thriving. Yeah. And so how often do we, as individuals, tell people what we need so that we can thrive?
Yeah. So good. This is so good. And to part of this conversation that's so critical for all of us is like it helps create safer spaces. And you kept talking about safety and how important that is. Oh, it's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And creating that environment where I can even have those conversations.
Right.
How do you cultivate that?
I really think that if you can come together and learn as a team, like have a book club, read a book like The Gap and the Gain together, read like things like that, learning together.
That's so good.
Is that opportunity where people then start to cue into some of those hard spaces in their own life. And then perhaps hear some of their coworkers' hard spaces. Yeah. And then understand, I mean, we're so much more alike than we're different. But we make up these stories in our head that,
totally.
Right? But really, like, we have those kind of same concerns, those same fears, those same things, right? And so when we can really talk about those, it really creates that environment where we want to help and support each other. Yeah. Where we want to, dive in and help in central stairway. We want to grab a phone when, somebody, because we support and understand and respect one another. But that only happens through communication. When we are all just doing our job.
Yes. Yeah. So hard.
We don't even see each other. You don't even see what's going on. And so it's so important to create those opportunities for connection. Yeah. And I know we're so busy and we're booked, 6 or 8 months out and we're like, what do you mean, Amanda? Like, we can't take 2 hours, every other week to have a staff meeting, or we've done that in the past and it's been such a waste of time. And really you need to get intentional about it. I also am a huge fan of a morning huddle. I think that's really important. And in that morning huddle, so often I hear speakers talk about, or coaches like, oh, leave all the problems at the door and then come in to do your work. That is so...
It doesn't work.
It does not work.
It does not work.
Have you ever been able to just unpack it all and like wife and kids up all night, whatever? Okay, left it at the door.
Yeah.
No. We're all real. We're all
100%.
real humans. And so if we can pop in the morning huddle, we look at the schedule, and then we can be like, oh my gosh, my kid was up all night. Like all night, and I got like 2 seconds of sleep. If you notice, like, I am not 100% with it today, like, bop me upside the head, or frankly, I could use a little more support. Yeah. And when we do that for one another, that's when we create, those are those moments of connection. But again, we don't know that we need that unless we can communicate that. And so you need to set aside those times to do that and make sure that you have those opportunities.
Yeah. There's something fascinating I want to explore with you here, in that typically when we talk about culture and changing culture, I think a lot of this is crossing over with communication, changing communication, creating safe spaces. We say it's cascades. So it starts from the top down, then you measure from the bottom up. In a dental office, is that the dentist? Like, how important is it that the dentist is living this out so that happens in the space that you're trying to cultivate?
It is really helpful if that's how it works.
Yeah.
This one office that I have mentioned, which I love, which the dentist is hard. Yeah. It's funny. We have almost created that culture around and in spite. But there has been a fair amount of turnover in that practice and things like that. And so you can read the books and you can know the words. You can read The Gap and the Gain, and you could read Crucial Conversations, and you can read every book out there, and you can know all the words. But if you think that those things only apply to the people that work for you, that doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so I've been in those situations where then the team ends up just kind of, either the whole thing falls apart and it's just not working, or maybe the team does kind of rally in and of themselves and in spite of. But that takes
a lot of effort.
It really is key. I mean, that is truly if that leader, that dentist leader can really come in with grace, with some vulnerability, with that kind of celebrating those small achievements. Like, man, that is really what lays the foundation for everyone else then to fall in line. Yeah. But if they're not doing it,
it's so much more difficult.
It's so much harder. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like it's like parenting, right? I mean, like, you don't just you can't just tell your kid what to do, and just because you know the right words, but then you don't ever do it and expect them, right? It's not like do as I say, not as I do, but they end up doing as you do. Yeah. It's no different. These relationships in office are the same as marriages. They're the same as parenting. They're the same as those. They're close.
Yeah. There's this idea of like leaders go first. I think to your point of like cultivating safety, there's so much power in a dentist saying, like, listen, I messed up. Yeah. Or like, I need some help today. Or like, oh my goodness, that just changes and allows other people to say, I feel the same way. Like, oh my goodness, I'm coming in and family stuff is so crazy. And can I have some support as well? It's like, it totally changes the dynamic.
I mean, how lucky was I, Andrew? How lucky was I when I took that class and I learned about water, right? Learned about water. And I went to my office and I said, hey guys, are we doing this? And they said, no. And I said, can I do it? And the dentist was like, so order great. Whatever you need. Yeah. And so he empowered me to take that on, to take on that task. And then the Waterline Warrior was born, right? Yeah. But I hear from so many clinicians, I get so many DMs from clinicians out there. They hear my lecture and they're like, I want to do this, but my doc says no.
Yeah. Oh, this is so hard. It's so crushing. Hard. Yeah.
Like, what do you mean your doc? Like, how can you have somebody that is coming in and is excited and has just learned something and they are ready to make the practice better, safer. They are ready to champion this new thing. And they don't get that like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you for taking that on. Go. I mean, I was so lucky that I got that opportunity to do that and then got to help, then teach others. And so, and this goes for so many things. I mean, whether it's water, whether it's infection control, whether it's just learning something new, we don't always want to like, who wants to do the same thing every day, all day, all the time? Like I'm a passionate, curious learner. Like I always want to be, like I'm so excited when I'm building a new deck. Like that is like my nerdy time where I'm like, oh man, this is fun. And I'm reading research studies and I'm diving in and I'm like, oh man, this is the greatest. Like literally I'm sitting at my desk and I'm like, oh, this is so fun. Right? But think about that. And I think sometimes that gets missed in a practice because we're so busy.
Totally.
And it's not that you don't have time to learn new things. I wonder if you don't have time not to learn new things.
That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's where you get burnout. That's when you lose people. That's when don't we all always just want to feel like excited and challenged and curious and knowing that we're making a difference, be that in infection control or be that in patient care or be that in team dynamics. Like to know that like you can finish a day and be like, oh, I did that.
Yeah, yeah. We have this term that we use at ProEdge where oftentimes we're caught up on working in the business. And that's just the nature of work. Right? Like you end up focused,
that inbox is yelling at you. It fills
up. Yeah. It's like it just piles up. The to-do list does not stop. But how absolutely critical it is to be pulling back to work on the business.
Yeah.
And I feel like, to the daily like meetings and huddles, to the intentional conversations about the either communication. What was the one that you said? The wheel. What's the wheel?
The awareness wheel.
The awareness wheel or the awareness wheel. It's like these are so it's like to your point. You can't not do these things.
Right.
They are so important.
Crucial.
Yeah.
Crucial. And I mean, if you looked at, and I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but you look at the stats on how much it costs to lose an employee and bring in a new employee, like all of that stuff is huge.
Yes. Yeah.
And so really figuring out how to nurture and retain and maintain the team that you have. I just got back, Andrew, last week I was in the Grand Cayman Islands at CE on the beach.
Okay.
So it's this CE like conference.
That sounds
and
awesome.
It's like in a tropical island every year. It moves around. But there were whole teams that came.
Yeah, that's great.
Entire teams that came. And there was a whole team that came with us on the Stingray snorkel starfish trip.
Yeah, wow.
After the conference was over. And like they were having so much fun together. And I know that team, because they had the opportunity to not only, work together, learn together, but have fun together. I think those things are really crucial to make time for in order to build that, build that trust and opportunity to be vulnerable.
Yeah, 100%. One of the last questions is, how do we do this at the DSO level?
Well, I think some of it, DSOs are small practices, in and of themselves. So does that stick in, like, do you do that just practice by practice? Do you do that way? Do you do that as, kind of a big DSO conference and then you have like, breakouts, that kind of thing? Heck, do you do it? Like one thing DSOs are really great at is systems onboarding, those kind of things, right? A regular practice typically doesn't have a lot of onboarding. You're like, hey, welcome. Here's your password.
Your story. It's like, hey, you're a dental assistant now.
Like, barehanded, cold sterile. Okay, I got it.
Oh my goodness.
But so is that part of the systems practicing and onboarding? Like, do you learn the awareness wheel? Do you have little mini book clubs?
Yeah.
That you sit there and you learn from? Are you able to, if it's a DSO and there's practices within a geographical location, can you have like hygiene study clubs? Can you have assistant study clubs? Can you have admin team study clubs? I think the assistants of the admin team, by the way, get left out of so much and they really are just like as valuable a part of the dental team. And so why not have, even if you don't necessarily need CE, you still need that support. You still want to be a learner.
Yeah.
You still want to be excited. And so how can you do that? And then maybe you have these opportunities for growth and learning. That's, I think that's one advantage that a DSO has over a private practice is you do have opportunities to kind of level up, right? If you want to become a hygiene director, or you want to become, a lead assistant or things like that. And you do have those opportunities, but you're only going to do that through growth and learning. And so I think that I almost think, well, Andrew, maybe it's even easier at the DSO level.
Yeah.
As I'm sort of thinking through this, but you come in and you can really establish that initial culture, like, hey, this is how we talk. This is some of our nomenclature. Like if you hear us using a word like gap and gain, this is what it means.
That's so
Read this
good.
book.
Yeah.
And if you see me, like, I love accountability. It's so good, especially when you do it in a way like, you and I are safe with each other and you can say something, I can be like, well, but Andrew, like, that's kind of like, you're kind of in the gap, buddy. Like I have a good friend that I'll call and I'll like be like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe this. And she'd be like, well, but really? And I'll be like, oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Right. But we need that.
100%.
And so maybe even at the DSO level, maybe it's
even easier.
Even easier.
Yeah. Yeah, because it can build that structure that's super needed to have those kind of safe conversations. Yeah. And to your point, the onboarding, it's like, hey, here's some of the words we use.
Right.
Yeah, from the get-go.
From the get-go.
So good.
So you understand that.
I love that. That's a great perspective. Amanda, where can people find you?
Oh, well, you can find me Amanda Hill RDH on LinkedIn, Amanda Hill RDH on Instagram, Amanda Hill RDH on Facebook. Or if you want to email me, amandahilldh@gmail.com. Oh, and website, amandahilldh.com.
I love it. It's so consistent. If you got Amanda Hill RDH, you will find Amanda Hill.
Me. Yes, you will find Amanda Hill.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for being
Andrew.
on the Safe Together podcast.
I love this. I can't wait to do this again.